Okay, so we're live on YouTube. I apologize. It made me do some weird new thing over there. So I'm, of course, behind what's new. All right. So it looks like Facebook is live as well. All right. Hi, whoever's on YouTube. If you can say hi, say hi. I know YouTube is kind of weird for that sort of thing. Facebook should be all right. So Jinx apparently was jealous that dog day or whatever the heck just happened. He didn't get any love. So that's Jinx. All right. So hmm, I'm looking at my kitchen. You probably don't want to look at my kitchen. I thought it was good, but maybe it's not. All right. So how is everybody? I get to like my front door. Why is that so wide? So if I have any techie people on here, I would love to get some tips. Like I'm using an external camera, but I don't know if I can change. Like it's really wide. You don't need to look at my front door. So anyway, I know you guys on Facebook don't see my front door, but YouTube does. So, all right, how are we? How are we? Okay. YouTube made me do this weird new thing, so I'm a little bit off. If you can't initially find me over there, keep hunting. Keep hunting. I never know. It always does weird stuff. Um, so the other thing I wanted to make sure you guys knew was that I'm making some changes to my website. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna try and keep everything available, but it might be somewhere else. So if you're having problems with even getting on, then definitely let me know. But otherwise, just bear with me a little bit. You might have to hunt around a little bit. If you can't get access to content, definitely let me know that as well. I'm also considering making some changes. There will always be free content, always, right? But I'm also thinking of making some changes to my membership program. So hang in there. I'm not 100% sure on how I'm going to handle it all, when we get to that point, but it will be there. I promise. I promise. So I got some tips for things that people were looking to do today. So we're going to open up into our hips. We'll get some standing balance, Cheryl. So remember, at any point, if you have a really crazy week and I don't know, maybe your lower back is giving you a little bit of a thing, holler and let me know, because even when I don't look like I've already had a plan kind of thing, I can always weave things in or give you tips while we're there to help with your practice. Right? So just definitely give me some feedback and all that kind of stuff. Remember to like and share the videos, comment on them. That way more people can see them, share them with your friends if you have people that you know are looking for something, right? Any given day. So that's all the talking I'll do, since I was running a little late for a second. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to be seated. And make sure that you are in a comfortable position. So if you have to prop. Okay. And anytime we're in this seated position, if you must be, you can lean up against a wall if this is just not a good place for you. We don't hold here forever unless you're choosing this position for your shavasana, of course, for your meditation position. So just remember to make yourself happy. It's one thing when you're in a class and you would have to drag around your props and all that kind of stuff, or you don't want people looking at you like, what the heck are they doing? Right? But you're at home, you can do whatever you want here. So make it right for you, whatever that ends up looking like. We want to align the heels as much as possible, find inner thigh rotation so that, again, the pelvis can be upright. That is I'm going to say the most important thing, but it's a pretty important thing. Lifting the pelvic floor, lower belly in and up, tall through the sides. Relax through your hips and shoulders. And as much as you're grounding into your seat, extend out through the crown of your head. Find that space in your spine. Letting your hands fall wherever is most comfortable. Closing your eyes here for just a moment. Allow yourself to be present. Listening to what your body needs from you. And if the message changes during this next hour-ish, be sure to listen to that as well. Finding your breath here. And allowing your breath to be your guide. If you find yourself holding your breath or you feel like you're panting a little bit, just come back. Find a nice, full, even, smooth, maybe just beyond comfortable breath. And we'll begin to add in movement here. So extending the arms out to the sides. On your next inhalation, reach the arms up. And then exhale, bring them back down again. Let's do it again. One more time like that. Inhaling back up to the top. Exhale, just your right hand back to the mat and give yourself a little tip. Opening up the left side of your body. Take a big breath here. On an inhale, making your way back up to center. Exhale, take it over to the left. Inhale back up to the middle. And again over to the right. See if you can move a little bit deeper into the pose. Back up to the top. Taking it left one more time. Back to center. And then we'll exhale, release the arms. Bringing the left hand over to the right knee and the right hand behind the body, just a little. Give yourself an easy twist over toward the right. So just gentle, don't worry how deep it is. Find even on the pelvis, that same length and space in the spine. And then we'll release that, coming back through the middle. Take your second side. Back to the middle again. And over to the first side, making this one a little bit deeper. So really use your right arm like a second spine, help it lift, or let it help it lift the spine tall. And then pulling against the knee a little bit here, rotating more from the belly through the side ribs to the shoulder, and maybe even look over the shoulder. Still upright on the pelvis, the spine is really tall. We don't want to be leaning forward or backward, right over the hips. And then releasing that to come back to center. Taking the second side. So creating this deeper movement through the spine as you're ready. It's still very early. And then releasing that back to the middle again. Come around onto hands and knees from here. Wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Make sure the hand is nice and even on the mat. Grounded into the floor. And then just some cat-cows. So inhale the belly toward the floor. And then exhale as you round your spine toward the ceiling. In and out. Take one more flow like that. And then find a center. And instead of being in tabletop here, let's go ahead and make our way into a kneeling plank. So hands forward or knees back, however you get there. Shoulders neutral on the back, the belly is engaged here, you're still nice and even in your hands. So we're gonna dip, bring the elbows in line with the ribs, and then hover in this space. Take a second, make sure your hands are still even, your shoulders are neutral, your belly's not hanging or your butt's not sticking up in the air. You're breathing and happy about where you are, and then drop down. Maybe not so happy about that, right? So hands are next to the side ribs here. We want to hug our elbows in toward each other. Let's just roll with the shoulders here for a moment. So inhale, pull them up by your ears, together on your back and down toward your hip bones. Exhaling to release them. So doing, again, just a little bit of a shoulder roll. Let's do that one more time. Releasing down. And then we're going to add in more with the arms, right? So we're going to do the same thing with the shoulders, rolling. So the chest kind of curls away from the floor. Are you feeling that? Add your arms by pulling like you're pulling your belly button forward. Pressing into the hands. Keep the elbows in and the shoulders down and back. And the body lifts as high as it does. Don't necessarily think about how high you're going. Pay attention to the sensations in your backside. And then release back down again. So we're going to go up like we went down, hovering in that middle space. Make sure your belly isn't left hanging on the floor. So if you press a little bit into your knees, you can kind of pull your belly away from the floor. It's not actually going to lift off the mat, but you're going to feel it pull up. Okay? Keep that. Elbows in, pressing into the hands to lift the belly and chest, bringing the elbows in line with the ribs. Take one more breath. And then push all the way up. Sitting back into a child's pose. Letting your hips sink back. You can definitely have your hands back by your heels if that's where they need to be right now. But otherwise, stretch the arms away from the body. Feel the body moving in opposite directions. The arms reaching forward and the hips moving back. Grounding into the four corners of the hands here, let's go ahead and make our way into a down dog. And as always, just allow yourself to move and stretch a little bit. Beginning to sink in a little bit deeper, making sure the arms feel even into the floor, the chest is pressing back. Ideally, the head hangs between the arms. Sinking into the heels here, feeling that nice stretch through the backs of the legs. And then keeping everything else as you have it, let's go ahead and lift the right leg straight back. So the temptation is to sort of lean over to the left and hike the hip a little bit, but see how even you can keep the body. Press through your right heel, press through your left heel. From here, we're gonna open just the hip. So imagine stacking your right hip on top of your left, but the right shoulder doesn't stack, right? They stay level. You can bend the knee, pointing toward the ceiling. If it makes you happy, you can look over your left shoulder and see if you can see your toe over there. Take another breath. We'll take the legs straight, square the hips again, and release the foot to the floor. We're gonna go to the second side, same idea. So simply lifting the left leg away from the mat. Press out through your heels. See if you can sink your right heel closer to the floor. And then open just the hip. Bending at the knee if you'd like to bend at the knee. Head stays hanging in line with the arms here. Chest is pressed back. Let's go ahead and release that. Slide forward into a plank. Knees if you want knees. The body is this nice straight line, whether it's knees or ankles that you're aligned with here. We're gonna hover in the middle, bending into the elbows, hold, and then drop down. Take that little roll into your cobra. Maybe a little hold, maybe a little press. And then release to come back down. Coming halfway up again, so full plank or kneeling plank. Elbows in line with the ribs. Press all the way up. We're gonna make our way back into a child's pose again. So moving back to down dog. From here, let's step forward into a standing fold. Coming to the top of the mat, bringing the feet hip bone distance apart. Grounding into the four corners of the feet. And then just simply walk in place a bit. So maybe bend into one knee, press into the opposite heel, switching sides back and forth like that. And you can be more loose and relaxed about it. So letting your head hang, letting your shoulders kind of just roll toward the floor for now. Coming to a center here, bend the knees so that your belly will touch your thighs. Whatever that means for you. So belly on the thighs, the knees are still as in line with the ankles and hips as they were before. We're gonna take the arms and wrap them behind the legs here. Grabbing opposite elbow or wrist or something in between maybe. Hug your belly to your thighs, but not your knees toward each other. And see if you can take your legs straighter. Maybe yes, maybe no. Keeping the belly on the thighs, letting your head hang. And then releasing the arms. Little bend in the knees or straight legs, either one is fine. We're gonna take the hands to the lower back and interlace the fingers. Draw the shoulder blades a little closer together, stretching the knuckles away from the shoulders. So feeling the space, and then maybe lifting the hands up away from the lower back. And even after you think you've gone as far as you can, See, if you pull your shoulder blades closer together, stretch the knuckles away, maybe the hands can lift more than you thought they could. Let's take one more breath. And then release the arms. Go ahead and slide your hands up to your thighs. Press away, coming parallel edge to the floor. Hands can support on the thighs or come to the hips. We're going to inhale and come halfway or all the way up. We're already halfway. So standing nice and tall here, let's take a nice big step back with the right foot. And then straddle on your mat. So the feet are parallel to each other here. They can be a little wider, a little more narrow, wherever you need to be. We're going to bring the hands to the hips. Remember, you can absolutely support on your thighs if you need the support for your lower back. Elbows back, chest open and lifted as we come forward into that half fold again. So right in the middle here. Belly's in, hands supporting if you need. Keeping the spine nice and long. If this is your fold, then you're done. If you can add on, see about going a little deeper. But keep the hands away from the floor. The hands get to the floor and sometimes hold us out of the fold, and we don't want that. So just feeling the length through the spine, letting the body weight pull you over. And then keeping everything else as you have it here, allow your hands to move toward the floor. So maybe you touch and maybe you don't. Bending at the knees if you need to. Index and middle fingers are going to wrap around the big toes. Elbows still out so the shoulders stay back. And if you'd like, you can take your legs straighter without locking the knee, of course. Maybe pulling on the toes a little bit. See if you can find a deeper stretch, whatever that ends up looking like. And then release your toes. Go ahead and open your feet so that the toes point out to the sides just a bit, right? You may still have to adjust as you move, but this is a good place to start. So with an exhalation, we're going to bend into the right knee, let the hips kind of sink over there. And then we're going to inhale and come back to the middle. Exhale as you take yourself up to the left. So you're just going to follow your breath and go side to side like that. When you bend the knee, watch that it stays tracking over your ankle and in line with your toes. So you may have to take your feet wider. You may just have to turn your toes in or out. Right? Watching where your knee is in relationship to the foot. Really to the ankle, but it's easier to look at the foot. So we're going to take a few more times on each side. If you want to work deeper, you drop deeper. You can lean on your hands as much as you need. You can flip your straight leg toes up toward the ceiling. Just kind of find where it is over here. As you move, you may be able to add on or not. Sometimes the body is like, okay, I can go deeper, and sometimes it's like, if you don't stop this, I'm going to snap. So find what it's telling you. So let's go once more on each side. And then back to the middle. Turn the toes so that they're pointing forward again here. Bring your hands back up to your hips. Support on the thighs, of course, if you need. Come halfway up. Hold. Take one more breath. And then let's make our way all the way up. Releasing the arms. So from here, turn your right toes in a bit, and then turn your left toes toward the top of the mat. We're making our way to warrior two. So when we bend into the knee, we want to see the big toe, stacking knee and ankle. Right foot, four corners, nice and even into the floor. extending the arms. And then think about your hips. And we want the pelvis to be level. Sometimes that right hip wants to kick up a little bit. Put it down. Press down into your feet and imagine pulling your legs toward each other up underneath, and you should feel a little extra sensation if you need that. And work your way toward the left thigh being parallel to the floor. That may not be today. That's just the direction we want to go. We're going to take another breath. Take the left leg straight. Reach forward of the toes. And then hinge over into triangle. So lean on the shin if you need to lean on the shin. Take a block if you want to block. You can support on the thigh or let the arm just hang. Same idea still. We're nice and even on the feet. Imagine pulling the legs together up underneath the body. Take another big breath. And then bend the left knee. Rest the forearm on the thigh here and bring the right arm up and over the ear. So we're sinking back into the hips. The feet are still doing what they were doing. The legs are still pulling together underneath. You can be leaning like crazy into the left leg. Or you can just let the arm sort of dangle down from the shoulder. Try not to reach for the floor because then the hips will give, right? If your hips descend enough, the floor comes to you. One more nice big breath. And then release it over into a lunge. From here, we'll step back into a down dog. Sorry, Gypsy. Shift your forward, come to plank. Same thing as we did before. Hovering in the middle, so on the knees or away from the knees, elbows in, take it to the belly. Roll yourself into a cobra, and then release, halfway up, and back into a child's pose. How are we doing, everybody? Still with me here? Hi, guys. Take one more breath in your child's pose. And then lift into down dog. From down dog, let's go ahead and step the left foot forward again. So we're lunging on the same side. We're going to drop the back heel, walk the hands around, coming into our straddle again. So again here, finding wide enough, right? Toes are pointing forward. From here, take your hands, walk them forward until your hips come down, kind of like plank. They can come down lower than plank though. Sink into them. And then walk back. Into the straddle again. So let's do that again, forward. And then back. One more time. And back again. From the middle here, make sure your toes point forward. Support on the thighs if you need. Hands up to the hips if you don't. Come halfway up. Hold in the middle. Squeeze the hamstrings. Pull the shoulders together on your back. Feel them squeeze. And then hinge all the way up. And we will take our second side. So let's go ahead and turn the left toes in a little, right toes toward the back of the mat. When you bend the knee, you look for your big toe. Taking the arms, extend out. And then the feet are grounding in and pulling toward each other. The hips are level and they're sinking down. Take the right leg straight. Reach forward and hinge. Support on the leg if you need, or block, whatever you need here, or the arm just dangles down from the shoulder. Focus on the lower body, pressing down, pulling together, opening the hip. And then bending back into the knee, bringing the left arm over the ear. Lean if you must. Otherwise, let the arm just, again, kind of dangle down from the shoulder. And once the hips are low enough, maybe the floor shows up. We're going to release that, coming over into the lunge again. Step back to your down dog. Slide forward into a plank. Into that halfway place, from the knees or full plank, hover in the middle for a half a breath, and then come down. Roll for cobra. And release. Halfway up. All the way up and back into a child's pose again. Again, just kind of taking that moment to regroup. Sometimes when we've worked really hard, we need just that little extra second. Come back to the breath. From child's pose into down dog. And we'll step the right foot forward into the lunge. Walking the hands back around into the strap. So feeling your feet, right? Find that place that's wide enough. You're engaged into the floor. Feet are pushing down and pulling together up underneath. And then we're going to do kind of the same thing with the hands, right? So if you need to bend your knees to get your palms flat, bend your knees. We want to have the hands shoulder width apart, fingers pointing forward. And again here, the palms flat to the floor. So ideally here, we slide the hands back so that the tips of the fingers line up with the tips of the toes. They're still shoulder width apart. The four corners of the hands are still engaged into the floor. So as much as you are pushing down into your feet, do the same thing with your hands. So push down into the floor. The elbows can be bent or straight, whatever makes you happy there. And see if you pull your belly in, if you can actually lift, not lift your feet up off the floor necessarily, maybe you can, but feel the weight sort of shift. And then release that from your hands. And see how far your head is from the space between your hands. And ideally, the top of the head moves to the floor between the hands. Now, this may be so far from reality for you, but that's the general direction you want the body to move. Take one more breath. Take those hands and walk them around toward the top of your mat. And step back to down dog. One last time here, we're going to shift forward, coming into our plank. Drop to the knees if you want to drop to the knees. We're hovering in the middle, elbows in line with the ribs, and then we're dropping to the belly. Rolling into cobra, and then releasing it and make your way back to down dog. And you know what, drop down into child's pose. So back to down dog. Let's walk the feet to the hands, come into our standing fold again. Placing the feet up underneath the hip bones, toes are pointing forward, four corners of the feet nice and even into the floor. We're gonna take the hands up to the thighs again and come halfway up. From here, bend into the knees and sit into a chair. So find four corners of the feet. Tuck the tailbone if you feel like your bone's sticking out. Lean if you have to, hands can come center or extend if that's where you are. Keep your chest open and lifted. We're going to take one more breath here. And then on an inhale, stretch to the ceiling, releasing the arms. So we're going to work with our standing balance next. And if you want to be next to a wall because the balance is not usually wonderful, then do that, right? You can definitely step off your mat if you need to here. And there's always going to be some options. So maybe you add these things in and maybe you don't. Let's see where it goes. So we're going to have all the weight over into the left foot to begin. Bend the right knee, lifting the foot away from the floor. And then open the knee out to the side. You're going to find a place where the body starts to shift all over the place to allow the knee to open. Don't go that far. Keep the upper body where it is. You can take traditional trees, so the foot is on the inside of the left leg, even touching the floor if that's where you need to be. Or we're going to keep the foot flexed and bring it in front of the left leg and above the knee so that your ankle kind of hangs off to the left side. Hug your legs toward each other, whether you're in front or on the inside of the left leg. Squeeze in. So you can absolutely hold here. If you're in traditional tree, you're going to keep your left leg straight. Otherwise, if you have the foot in front, you can bend into the knee and come into a one-legged chair position. Hand center, hanging on, extending, wherever the hands go. Nice and even on that left foot. The hips are still level here. You can get fancier coming forward, elbows toward the knee and ankle. Maybe. We're going to take one more breath. And then hinge it back up again, standing tall, and releasing the leg. So same idea on the other side, and it goes where it goes, right? So just because you did one thing on one side doesn't mean that's what happens over here. So let's see what happens. All the way right, all the way to the right, lifting the left leg, and then opening the knee, bringing the foot either to the inside or in front of. Hug the legs toward each other. You want to stay off the knee because if you put that pressure on the knee, it might not like it so much. If you are in traditional tree with the foot on the inside, you stand tall. You can extend the arms for sure here. Otherwise, the foot is in front, bend into the knee and come into that chair position. So the leg kind of has a place to rest, so to speak. But you're probably feeling your hips a little bit. So hug in. Maybe bring the elbows to the knee and ankle. Keeping the spine long. Take one more breath here. And then we'll hinge it back up. And release whatever you got there. Back to standing tall. So let's inhale, stretch the arms up. And then take it over into fold. Let yourself hang a second. Maybe bend into the knees if you like here. And then step it back into down dog. So for our down dog, let's go ahead and bring the left knee up behind the left wrist. Drop the right knee to the floor and stretch that leg long behind you, as long as you can. Your toes can be tucked under or the foot can be flat to the floor, whatever makes you happy here. Listen to your body. So if this is good, you don't have to change anything. If it's not good, come out. You can open the knee more to the side, to the left. You can bring your toes closer to the right hand, or not. Letting the hips descend evenly toward the floor, so not rocking to one side or the other. Up on the hands, down on the forearms, maybe all the way down, forehead to the mat. Check in. What are the hips telling you? How's your knee? Keeping the spine long and in this neutral position here. We're going to take one more breath. And begin to make your way back up onto the hands. Coming back to down dog. And then we'll switch sides here. So bring the right knee up behind the right wrist. Stretching the left leg long. And then adjusting your right leg. So maybe you're knee more in, maybe it can be more out. You can bring the toes forward or not. Finding the pelvis even and level. And then maybe dropping or not. And again, you're just going to take a second and check in. Did you go far enough? Did you go too far? What's your breath doing? One more big breath. And then making your way back up onto the hands. Slowly and gently into your down dog again. Just moving and stretching a little bit here. And then dropping back into the knees, hips to heels, shallow pose. So let's kind of sit up on the heels. And we're going to bring the legs around front. Stretch them out long, bounce them around if you feel like you need to move your legs a little bit here. And then just take a second and make sure you're upright on your pelvis again. So that same inner thigh rotation. If you do sit on a block here, just make sure there's a gentle little bend in your knees. You don't hyperextend at the knee here. So the belly's in, the shoulders are down and back. We're going to stretch the arms toward the ceiling and then hinge forward. Coming to full, let your hands fall where they do. Remember not to reach for the toes. We don't want to round the back. We want to stretch the hamstrings. Take another big breath. And then inhale, come back up again. Release the arms. From here, we're going to take the left shin parallel to the top edge of the mat-ish. You can actually be at the top edge of the mat or not, that doesn't matter. Keeping that foot flexed. And then again here, the shin is pretty parallel to the top edge of your mat, right? Across your mat. So then flex your right foot. And that outer ankle bone rests on the left knee. So if that does not happen in your universe, in your world, right, bring the foot in front of the knee. It's less pressure, and if it's still terrible, come out and don't do the rest of this. If you've got knee or whatever going on that this is not good, then that's where you are. Right? Keeping the feet flexed will help protect the knee. Ideally here, the pelvis is level on the floor, the spine is really tall, and this right knee falls to the left ankle. Maybe this is not reality. So you work in that direction, whatever that ends up looking like. Sit really tall here. Feel as even into the pelvis as you can. If you want a little bit more, take your hands to the soles of your feet. We're going to press in with the hands, push back out with the feet. See if you can sit a little taller even. And again, if you need more sensation here, you hinge forward. Find enough. One more breath. And then we hinge back up again. Release the right leg, stretch it out, and then maybe the left. And if it feels good to kind of wiggle in between, wiggle. Taking then the opposite side, so the right shin is parallel to the top edge, foot is flexed. Left foot is flexed, that ankle bone rests on the knee or in front of the knee. So stacking the shins as much as possible, keeping the pelvis on the floor and level, sitting tall. Relax into the hips. Sometimes when you get into tighter spots, the body starts to squeeze to protect itself. Right? If it has to squeeze to protect itself for real, come out of that. You don't belong there. Right? But if you're just kind of holding on because your mind is worried, see, is this okay to relax into? If the answer is no, come out. Trying to relax into it, keeping the spine tall. Again, adding maybe hands to feet, pressing into the feet and hands, and hinging forward. Take one more breath. And then make your way back up, releasing the legs. Stretching them out, and again, kind of wiggling and bouncing and shifting, whatever your legs need from you right now. We'll take the feet flat to the floor, hang on to the hamstrings, and roll on back. Hugging the knees into the chest and just kind of rocking a little bit. From here, let's take the feet flat to the floor. And if you do have a block here, you can use it to sort of rest into your bridge pose if that's where you're at. Or you don't have to rest, you can work, whether it's a lot or just a little. So the feet are going to be flat to the floor. Feet pretty close to the hips, but not quite touching. That usually is too far. We want to have the knees stay in line with the hips and the ankles. So if you feel like your feet are touching, that's too close. If they're out to the sides of your mat and your knees are touching, that's too wide for your feet. Right? So keep everything in alignment here. Arms are down by the sides of the body. And we want to hug them into the sides as much as we can. Pressing down into the triceps, you might feel your chest lift away from the floor a little bit. Make sure you're not leaning on your head. The body weight should be on your feet and your shoulders in just a second. So press down into the floor, pull the heels toward the hips, and lift the hips away from the mat. So again, here you have the option of making this a little bit more restful. If you take the block long ways, perpendicular to your spine, right? Not skinny fat there, right? You can take it and rest your pelvis on the block. Or you can make this more or less work. You can interlace the fingers behind the back, tuck the shoulders a little closer together, lift the hips a little higher. But again, remember you're resting on your shoulders, not on your neck. And you don't want to feel the weight on your head. I mean, obviously your head's on the floor, but you're not standing on it. So we're going to take a few more breaths in this bridge pose, whatever variation you've made your way to. And then let's go ahead and release it. So release your fingers, release the block, gently set the pelvis down on the floor. Keep your feet flat for just a second here. Releasing the spine into the mat. And then we can bring the knees back in and rock again. So remembering that this final twist is always, it's not optional necessarily, but the variation, right? You can take a number of variations here. So maybe today you lean the knees in toward the chest, open the arms, and just let the legs fall to the side. You can take your feet flat and shift your hips, take your legs straight, cross your legs, whatever other variation you feel like you need here. And I like to recommend this final twist be more relaxing than work. But if you feel like you didn't get enough twist, we didn't really focus there today, you can make it a little bit of work. We'll take just a couple more breaths on this side. So whatever variation you're working, like you're getting there. And then let's go ahead and come back up to the center. Whatever variation you did on that side, do something very similar on this side. So it doesn't always look the exact same, but ideally we work the muscles in the same direction. Take just a couple more breaths on this side. And then coming back up to the middle again. Knees hugging back into the chest and rocking. Squeezing the knees in as tight as you can get. Pull the forehead toward the knees, let your spine round. Releasing that out into a full body stretch. And then releasing the stretch and making your way to wherever your body's going to rest in Shavasana. So So again here, if you want to be in a seated meditation position, but you need the wall, take the wall. If you want to prop, prop. Wherever your body is, find alignment. Allow the mind to move back solely to the breath. Spending a few minutes here, keeping the mind present, quiet. And allow it to rest as deeply as your body is resting right now. slowly draw in a deep cleansing breath, and then let that go. Allow your body to begin to wiggle, moving and stretching. When you're ready, bringing the feet flat, gently making your way back up to seated. Sitting well here, we'll bring the palms to touch. Bowing to the light within. Namaste. Thanks for playing this morning, you guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, you can always make suggestions, requests, like and share and all that kind of stuff. And keep watching for the changes to the website. If I don't already have your email, if you want to shoot me your email either in Instant Messenger or that's what I want to throw in the comments, seeing everybody and their brothers sending me messages, but you get the idea, right? So stay in touch, have a great weekend, and I will see you next week, if not before.